Now, one of the most recent manga chapters in One Piece, chapter 1024, last page, had Luffy declaring he will become the king of the pirates, and the narrator saying how the ship is now heading to the fabled country Elbaf. Now, fable spelled backwards is Elbaf, so many plot points are going to become huge, like Usa's kid making an appearance, to Greenbow trying to confront Luffy for his dog, Akainu, no pun intended, to the red dog, and of course the giant prince Loki also being revealed. And of course there's Usopp becoming a brave warrior of the seas. Probably we know Dressrosa hyped up his observation haki. This arc is going to really confirm Usopp as one of the top tier Straw Hat pirates. And of course with Yasopp being part of the Red Hat pirates who have good connections to Elbaf, and even Shanks' connection to Elbaf is going to be really big when it comes to this arc. And a returning character in Enel finally showing up after his moon trip. What better arc than of course the guys who worship the sun? But because the last page work is focusing on Luffy becoming the Pirate King in this chapter, what better character for it to be than the former Pirate King's top commander, Scopper Gaban, where the same hat we saw him wear in his meeting with Crocus, it looks like he's wearing that same hat, of course, when he's on Elbaf. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. Make sure you guys, of course, like and subscribe as I do a deep dive on the third strongest Roger pirate and how he could develop the story in more than one way. Now, of course, if you want to go really deep on Scopper Gaban, he was actually introduced in the first 20 chapters. The debut of Scopper Gaban was pretty interesting because he was the only other Roger pirate other than, of course, Rayleigh to have been shown that early in the story, showing how Oda always planned for him to be a big character. And the fact that he hasn't shown up in the main timeline yet means it's only about time we see this axe-wielding pirate show his overpowered abilities, being one of the strongest Roger pirates, only behind Roger and Rayleigh, two legends, and maybe even Odin, but that's debatable because of what we saw in the anime. Now, before I do a deep dive into this character we've been waiting for so long, I must mention how he's in, of course, chapter 0 or episode 0, where Gaban actually mentions how he's been with Roger for ages and has never been able to stop Roger from fighting, meaning he has a special relationship with Roger because he's been there since day one. It's kind of like the original Straw Hat Pirates who've been there since the East Blue and did that oath on that barrel when they put their foots on it. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp. Those are the original, and you guys all see them highlighted, of course, in the live action recently. So I honestly believe that Scopper Gaban was with Roger before he even had a bounty, kind of like how these characters that I just mentioned were with Luffy before he even had a bounty. Now we see Gaban about to fight with not just one axe but two axes during the Odin flashback, and even asked Rayleigh, should we of course nip this in the bud when it comes to confronting Kozuki Odin. The reason why this is so special is because we already know how overpowered old Silvers really is. So for Oda to have Gaban in the same light as a prime Silvers really means he has to be insanely powerful, to the point where even Rayleigh says, I think so, to Gaban, and actually answers. And of course Roger tells them both he will fight Odin so they don't get hurt. And you see that Roger really looks at these guys as his top commanders, but they just know that Roger wants to fight Odin super badly. And we even see in the anime Gaban fighting Odin, a Conqueror's Haki user who got stronger after leaving Wano and came back to scar Kaido and almost beat Kaido if there was no interruptions. Yeah, Gaban ain't your regular degular pirate. What's even more crazier is Rayleigh and Gaban both command the other Roger pirates, meaning they are the wings to Roger in the same sense that Zoro and Sanji during Wano became the wings to Luffy. So expect some cool stuff from this new Elbaf character about to be explored, who also knows about the One Piece Joy Boy, the Willa D, the Void Sentry. So don't only expect power, but also expect some crazy knowledge from Scopper Gaban. I thought it was also cool how Scopper Gaban was pissed off at Roger bowing his head to Whitebeard, saying he's our enemy, showing how much respect he has for Roger, being in countless battles with him, of course, even with Whitebeard during the Rock's Age, and of course just growing up as pirates in that era. All in all, Scopper Gaban doesn't take Roger disrespect kindly, the same way that Zoro doesn't take Luffy disrespect kindly when Usopp left the crew and tried to come back like nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. I know that's a reference to the bark, but still Zoro's like, nah, he's definitely got to prove if he wants to join back the crew, because that means anybody can just leave the crew. So I love how Gaban was really showing admiration, respect for his captain here. We even see Gaban letting Odin know that Roger only needs him for his knowledge, which makes sense since we've seen them battling in the anime. And remember, Odin's the same man who had Conqueror's Haki clash with Whitebeard, and then later took a Conqueror's Haki coded attack, Divine Departure from Roger, and stood back up to fight again. For context, Usa's kid and Killer got knocked out from a Divine Departure from Shanks. We all know Shanks is not Roger level. Well, also, we have to understand that Odin almost beat the strongest creature alive, Kaido, if not for interruption. Let's be honest here, Odin scarring Kaido was insane. So for Gaban to clash with his battle axes versus an endless steroided up Odin shows how much of a warrior Scopper Gaban is. So put some respect on his name. Also, don't forget, alongside Caracas and Rayleigh, Scopper Gaban also knows about the Willa D, Void Sentry, and Joy Boy's Laugh Tale, and what the One Piece treasure is, that the final saga has started another big race for, especially after Vegapunk's message riled everyone up. And with him specifically calling out the Roger Pirates, I expect to see some interesting things from Scopper Gaban, especially with dialogue in the Elbaf arc and his interactions with the new Pirate King crew, the Strata Pirates, who he's waiting for. We even see Scopper Gaban understanding why the world government would want to hide Goldie Roger's name after they came back from Lapto, showing how he is one of the few people in the world who understands why the world is what it is today, and when it comes to the Willa D and what that means. We see the monster trio in their early days on God Valley, with Rayleigh, of course, saying this is going to be a wild one. And then, of course, we see Roger commenting on how he's been waiting for this moment for a year now, obviously alluding to the Rocks Pirates battle. And then we, of course, see Scopper Gaban speak on, "There's no special privileges here, Captain." So this tells me two things. Firstly, Gaban wants to fight the strongest available opponent on God Valley. And secondly, with Rocks and Roger going at it, and Whitebeard and Rayleigh most likely going at it, probably clashing, that means Gaban might have been fighting the Flying Lion Cheeky. And even if he didn't fight Cheeky, what's left over? Big Mom? So which would show how remarkable in power the top three of the Roger Pirates are. Now, if he's fighting Shiki, it just shows that Gaban is no joke. But if he's fighting Big Mom, that also adds another layer, because Big Mom and the Giant Connection of Elbaf and Scopper Gaban and his Giant Connection, it would make for a really cool battle between these two characters. Now, I do want to say this. It shows how remarkable and powerful the top three of the Roger Pirates are, making me excited to see Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji during the final saga, but also makes me curious on how Gaban fights. It can't just be with his two axes and Haki. There's got to be more to him for him to fight. And fight Shiki or Big Mom on God Valley, and Odin during the Whitebeard Roger 3-day battle. All in all, he's truly a monster in his own right, and I can't wait to see him in action during the Elbaf arc. We see the Roger Pirates and Crocus sharing sake with an individual wearing a Wano-like hat. Now we know Gaban and Odin became really close after Odin joined the Roger Pirates, so he could have easily shown him or actually made that hat for him like Ace did for Oz Jr. Now I should mention this. This is a cover in the post timeskip, so it could be Oda foreshadowing how Gaban will take over Rayleigh's mentorship in the second half of the One Piece. So I could see Luffy gaining some serious knowledge from Gaban, especially if he's in Elbaf with the, of course, Sun God lore that we bestowed upon Luffy, with Gaban knowing about Joy Boy. It only makes sense for some craziness connection between Gaban and Luffy because of the lore of the Pirate King and Joy Boy and whatnot. Now, of course, Gaban's shirt when he's about to fight Odin is marked by a flame. Like the design is very flame-like. It's the only time we see him don this shirt, as the next panel his shirt goes back to normal. And with Eustace Kid of all people gunning for the man marked by flames, who's currently sinking in the Elbaf waters, it can't be a coincidence that there's, of course, the fact that Gaban was the one who told Roger they were ready to head to Laugh-Tale, showing his navigational skills, and he also interrupted Neptune's small talk for the real reason, which was the poneglyphs to get to Laugh-Tale. And with that Fishman Island Road poneglyph being moved, it only makes sense that he took it and probably brought it to Elbaf, where of all people Shanks recently stopped by, and he said he was catching up with some old friends, not just Dorian Broggy, maybe his former crewmate Scopper Gaban, but probably meant Gaban. That's what I'm thinking. The same way he caught up with Rayleigh after Luffy said the same things that Roger did. And this, of course, made Shanks cry when Luffy said those words. And of course, with Luffy awakening his Joy Boy Nika form, it only makes sense he would go to the nearest man who could understand how big this is for the future of the One Piece world. And it could even make me think that Gaban might be a Delphi master, the only one, of course, in Roger's crew. Now, the Blackbeard Pirates discuss the man marked by flames and how he has the final road poneglyph, and if you get too close to his black ship, you'll get sucked into a vortex if you get too close. So expect this to be related to Scopper Gaban's power, and if it's a Delphi power like the Blackbeard Pirates think it is, we could see Gaban elevate Luffy's Delphi power, unlike Rayleigh, who elevated Luffy's Haki power. I also want to say it would make sense on how he could travel to Crocus, Wano, and now Elbaf on this powerful ship. All in all, this just made Gaban look more cooler, and with us recently seeing Rayleigh's Congress Haki coding having Blackbeard shook, imagine the Blackbeard Pirates come to Elbaf for Gaban and Oda makes him look cool, like a former Pirate King's top commander should be capable of doing. Now, I do have to mention this, which a lot of fans of my channel and just One Piece in general won't be a fan of, but Scopper Gaban does dictate some power scaling in the One Piece story. I know a lot of people are thinking I haven't talked about power scaling that heavy since Whole Cake Island, now Luffy's category battle. Well, I did it for a reason, because I wanted to take a break before and develop some more of the characters, so the power scaling and the power cliffing would make more sense. And with Scopper Gaban entering Elbaf and his out of prime strength, giving us a good estimation how strong he was in his prime. This could also make us look on how strong Sanji might be in his cap, because we all know when Rayleigh's power was shown during Sabaody, and then of course Rayleigh, of course, now how much strong we think he is during his prime, it definitely made us think about the cap for Rono or Zoro when he reaches his end of story prime. So I definitely want to say Scopper Gaban might have some big indications on Sanji's power, who did amazing during Egghead Island fighting Kizaru for a little bit. Even Kizaru was impressed about his speed and the fact that he was able to, of course, obliterate his light kick, which was insane. Of course, even having some moments against Saturn, Sanji had, and of course his moment against Queen where he did the blue flames. Sanji has been progressing to an insane level, of course, with his German DNA kicking in. And there's only more to go when it comes to his haki developing even crazy, because Armor Haki got developed when he, of course, amplified that with his crazy genetics. But I think Elbaf, seeing Scopper Gaban, really will show us how strong Sanji will be once they found the One Piece. Because Zoro and Luffy kind of have an educated guess with some, of course, past characters. But Sanji, this will be one of the first past characters we can actually look on. How strong will Sanji be at the end of the story? So Scopper Gaban even has some power scaling hype to him. And with him being on Elbaf, expect for him to help Usopp to become a great warrior of the seas. I thought it's cool that he has kind of similar hairstyles as Usopp. Maybe there's a connection between Yasopp, Scopper, and Usopp. Who knows? I could be reaching. And of course, he could reveal some cool giant-like techniques like Big Mom and Kaido used on the rooftop that will have our jaws to the ground. I also believe it'll be cool to see Enel make an appearance in Elbaf with Gaban humbling him, showing a callback to Luffy saying a lot of strong folks are on the Blue Seas, which of course all in all Enel did not believe. I want this to be Gaban so badly for the hype it'll bring to an already hyped up Elbaf arc. And of course, make sure you guys also watch my strongest Gorosei video I dropped as well.